Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. In today's video, I wanted to talk about a few things that I like about Title Update 8 so far. Now, this is not a review. In fact, I did kind of a preview of some sort where I spoke about my first impressions. And in that first impressions video, I got a lot of flack because when I started out the video, I said, well, the drop of the patch in my first impression was like a 6.5 out of 10. And some people thought I was giving the entire patch an entire score, but that was my first impression because I had a progression bug, and with a bug like that is a downer. That is just what it is. But now that I'm playing the patch, and I knew that eventually I was still going to be able to give the patch an updated score. And even for that same video, if you had watched it till 11 minutes, I actually gave the video a personal score. The patch, a personal score of an 8 out of 10. Many people heard that 6.5 out of 10, and I started seeing comments telling me to go to Borderlands and Destiny. Can you imagine? The only person who talked about New York for almost 4 months gets kicked to Borderlands because people didn't watch the video in the full context. So bear with me, ladies and gentlemen. I would encourage you to watch my videos till the end. I usually put nuggets within it just to kind of, keep things interesting and make those comments not age very well. Anyways, into this video, I just want to say right off the bat, I enjoy the fresh aspect of everything. Having a new city that we can go into, or a new old city, something that brings back some nostalgia, something that brings extra landscape, extra space, extra bosses, extra missions, extra activities to do is a nice touch. I think this patch has not only brought a physical location to the floor, I think it's also brought with it a lot of other things that you can also tack on. New York is quite challenging. The cleaners, they do fight differently. And this freshness has hit everything. It's hit everything from gear to weapons to enemy NPCs to talent. Everything is now much more significant in the way they've refreshed this entire game. Back in the day, you could run around and you could just become a one-man machine. You could take on any challenge by yourself, but not anymore. Now you have to actually design your character and actually be careful of your playstyle in the way that you go. Enemy NPCs are no longer playing with you. The game feels like it did when it first released. Remember when it first released? You could be doing damage, but if you stayed out of cover too long and you started running around and lost, your sense of awareness, you got punished heavily for it. I think we're at that point again in the game where not only are we getting punished heavily for these things, the enemy NPCs now have more advanced ways, in fact, better ways to punish us. You see hyenas running around with seeker mines. You see all kinds of crazy stuff, in the open world. You won't even believe your eyes. You see Buddy and Lucy type warhounds just chilling in the corner in the dark zone. When you run in the dark zone, you get attacked by the black tusks. Well, when another wave shows up, you have that, you have the Buddy and Lucy style minigun warhound that just takes you out in one hit. I think that was the first eye opener for me. I joined a group of people playing a heroic bounty. They set the open world to level 4 heroic. And we jumped into this bounty, and boy, we got shredded before we all had to kind of back up a little and deal damage from distance and close our way in to finishing the NPCs. I mean, it wasn't necessarily too difficult. It just is not the way you're supposed to be playing, the game. And I think the developers have gone back to their original vision, making sure everyone's playing the game as a cover-based shooter and all that good stuff. Now, in terms of story, once I got past the progression bug and I played the story to level 40, I thought that was actually pretty good. I wasn't a real fan of the direction they took Fei Lao. That kind of made my stomach turn, but I think that was the effect that they were trying to come up with because it seemed like a more dramatic way to go. In terms of the writers, I just want to say thumbs up. That was a good, twist that I didn't see coming. Nonetheless, kind of made my belly hurt a little bit because I was like, Faye is supposed to be our person. Which also brings me to the Nemesis. Go look at the name of the, the Black Tusk, soldier or whoever whose name is actually on the Nemesis. It's kind of weird that their name is that. And I think when they first dropped that, I said, could this be Fei Lao? Is Fei Lao in the Black Tusk now? Yeah, well, I mean, everybody kind of, left that aside, but apparently she has chosen that side of things. Now, if you've not played through the end, I think I may have just spoiled it for you. So in post production, I'm gonna have to write spoilers included. And then, moving on to gear, moving on to weapons, moving on to all the other things. I think gear and weapons now make a lot more sense. Things are now simplified. Now, many have said dumbed down. I don't think it's dumbed down. I mean, what needs to be complex about this game that is not already complex? We have a whole specialization tree that works with numbers. We have a recalibration library. We have a recalibration station. We have, all kinds of systems in place. And this game just thrives off of systems. But one thing that can happen to the Division game is systems can get too convoluted when you have too many of them. And so the developers have taken the gear system and the weapon system and the talent system and simplified these things to have you just know what exactly you're doing. Now, if you want to deal damage, you can be a damage dealer without having to worry about 11 reds and 2 blues and 4 utilities and all that nonsense that was in the onset of the game. I think that was just extreme level of, dross. It was just unnecessary, in my opinion. I mean, you would build and never be able to find things that even could help you build what you wanted to build, which is even worse. The loot system, the budget system, or whatever the heck it was, that would not allow for you to be able to get maximum stats on an item was very disheartening. I don't know why they even put it in the first place, but I think it lost a lot of players. But now, right off the bat, I have a pair of gloves that has max stats on all 3 items. I have items that have, stats that are almost maxed out on 2 items. All I got to do is roll the 3rd one, and I have a maxed out item. That's what I'm talking about. That's from grinding and farming and trying to get the max stats in my recalibration library. And it's nice to know that these things are going to make a whole lot of sense and be useful for me. That is exactly how I feel like, gear and all these attributes should have been in the first place. So I'm glad that the developers have actually put this into implementation, and it's something that I feel like is going to be worthwhile for a lot of people. Building is going to be very easy, very straightforward. You can pick your build and say, I want to go full damage. I want to be a tank. I want to be a skill person. You can go whichever direction you want. And then, with the way they refreshed all the skills and all that stuff, I wasn't really too hot on that, taking things like Providence and then making Providence like, the build for crits and all that stuff. But whatever, gear is still dropping. Some of the old systems that actually did work are still in place, which is actually pretty cool. So you can farm loot that, that's allocated. You can get, stuff from everywhere. You can still do your side missions and all that good stuff. And then when it comes to difficulty, I think right now, one of the really interesting things is the game feels like patch 1.3. I mean, you can make the game feel like patch 1.3 of the Division 1. And what I mean by that is whenever you jump to the higher difficulty, what you get is you get a reality check, which is, you either eat humble pie or you go back down, difficulty levels and go farm better gear and get your character and your agent to where it needs to be before moving up. But then there's also that heroic difficulty, or so legendary difficulty of missions, which I tried to play just to see what was happening. And I thought to myself, this is crazy. Before we get to the point where we start beating those things, it'll be really interesting to see who or what team will be willing to first beat this and how long they'll spend. But I think that's also a very good thing because it provides this level and this barrier and this boundary for players to understand that we have not done it all. And I think this would challenge even some of the best and most coordinated teams on how they actually play the game. I mean, the way those, NPCs, the machines are moving, they're faster. It's just a better version of the NPCs that's way better than you. So how are you going to outclass something that's been designed to outclass you? I guess that's the question that a lot of agents are going to be answering. So you put all of this together, you put the gear changes, you put the refresh there, you put all that stuff together. I think what we have is pretty much almost a whole new game, which is something that many people may not be used to. But in terms of the way the Division is, these patches will bring all these changes at the same time and makes the game a whole, new experience. Now, I have to say this. I've seen a lot of comments to the effect of, well, the game feels a little more difficult. To that, I want to say just keep farming. Once your gear starts to get better, you're going to feel a difference in how much damage you're dealing, how effective your character is, how much damage you can take in terms of being a tank. You're going to notice a very, very significant difference. You feel the improvement. It's not like back in the day where, once it just didn't feel like, your gear mattered, or it didn't feel like, I could slap on 6 of anything and do some of the hardest content in the game. It was that bad in terms of the way builds were somewhat irrelevant. But now you feel your enemy actually get stronger. I mean, for the very first time, I felt myself doing the kind of damage that I felt like my build was worth. I mean, it wasn't the greatest damage, but the time I put into getting those stats together and all that, actually I could see the difference. If I switched to a better weapon with higher RPM, with more damage to armor or more damage to health, I could clearly see the difference in terms of that. And that's one thing that you're going to see. And then for those who are saying, my build from the past is all messed up and everything, it's not going to take you more than a farming session to be able to get a good build together. The question is, to get a min-max build together, that's what's going to take you a while. So there's a different way to go around getting a better build, and that way is by first filling up your library, or just put things on that have higher armor and just go out there and open your chest and all that good stuff. You're already a division agent. You know where to find gear without lifting a finger. If you're a casual player, you know where all the secret chests are by now. And if you don't, open the Division 2 map and run around and look for them. And you open them up and they'll have gear in them that you can start putting on immediately. You get into maybe even level 40, or even while you're in New York and you're trying to figure out everything. The New York landscape is quite similar to DC. Difference is, it is New York. So if you check the alleyways, check the contaminated areas, you'll find loot all over the place. You find weapons, you find gear, do activities. I think that's another thing that a lot of us, are no longer really used to, because we kind of were playing the missions and playing the raid and playing those other things. We kind of almost forgotten how it feels to be powerless when we're leveling up. So I think that's what the feeling the developers have been able to kind of replicate, and they've done so successfully. If they can continue doing something like this, with maybe annual expansions, I think it's something that the community might welcome. And so if you're finding the game difficult, or you're thinking a lot of things have changed, you just have to continue to farm, and then the systems are going to start growing on you. And then one of the really cool things too are these surprise mechanics that are there. There are many of them. The rogue agents in the open world, oh my gosh, that's actually one of the coolest things that, I've seen in a long time. We had the hunters, and, now the developers have decided to put rogue agents, and these rogue agents, they come after you so well. I mean, they're just so good. Their skills are on point, and you can take them out, but you have to play very differently against them too. They're not just like your ordinary, NPCs, and they don't even tell you when they're coming. In fact, me and 2 other friends, we did a level 4 control point, and then the next thing we just, had a thing saying that, rogue tech, discovered. I just typed a message to all my friends. I said, run. So I ran away, and we all ran in different directions, but it made it possible for us to be able to take on these rogue agents because we spread them out so thin, which also helped me discover that, okay, if you're going to fight these agents, you're going to have to back up a lot, because they're going to continue to press you through the world. And if you can run into an enemy camp to maybe distract them. And this is something that adds a new gameplay dynamic, and they also drop loot as well. So who knows what other mechanics are in the open world that we have not been told, that we're still discovering. These are the things that makes Title Update 8 so far, in my opinion, a solid addition. I mean, at the moment, so far, everything seems, like it was well thought out. Everything seems to have responded to all the, queries and inquiries that the community had. And right now, what we're seeing is that the developers are actually quite competent in putting something like this together. And I feel like maybe the reason they didn't put this together in year 1 was because they had already announced their schedule, and that's the plan that they had in place, so they just need to learn to never ever repeat something like year 1 again. If this was what we got for year 1 content, the Division 2 would have absolutely eaten up other games within its category. Division players would never have needed to even leave in the first place. But, you know, like I said, it's something where we don't really know what the inner workings are. And so this is when we're getting the stuff. But now that we've gotten it, I think the community can rally around and celebrate, you know, some of the strong points of Title Update 8. But I'll be bringing more discussion videos. I'll be talking about some other things as they develop. I don't think I'll be able to even do a real review, because where am I going to do the review? Seasons are going to be popping up left and right, you know, so this is pretty much what we're going to be getting, where we're talking about the things that we're seeing down the road. So let me hear what you guys think in the comment section. I appreciate you guys for engaging in this, you know, video. And I just want to hear what you think about the, you know, patch, whether you love it, whether you don't love it, whether you hate it, or whether you can appreciate it. So that's it from me. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.